Welcome to Need to Film podcast, where Dimi and I are going to talk about Google. How the fuck did they go from being an underdog to now dominating everything in image, video, and text space? Then we're going to discuss the consequences of having an image model like Nano Banana 2, which allows you to fake anything and everything, including a Christmas market in Buckingham Palace. Then we're going to speak a little bit about copyright. There's an incredibly important ruling for Stability AI. They make the stable diffusion models, and that is going to carry the consequences for the whole AI filmmaking industry. Speaking of copyright, we're going to discuss Suno making a deal with Warner Music. And then finally, Dimi is going to take us through...
India just finished up their first and biggest AI film festival, and now people are starting to talk about the AI critic. When you watch a film, who should listen to, the human or the AI who knows everything on today's? But Mick, first take us through your first topic, which is
Google. All right, it was a sleeping giant, right? Everybody was thinking, wait, how did Google, who actually developed the technology that is powering all of the LLMs today, how did they fall behind so much? When OpenAI released ChatGPT, everybody was like, oh wait, Google is done. Google search is done. Everybody's just using chat for everything. No. They were quietly working in the background, and their newest model, Google Gemini 3, is just incredible. It's the best model out there. It dominates. Like, ChatGPT has nothing on it. If you actually use it in your workflows, I have my own kind of thought about people just using ChatGPT. I think there's so much more to AI than just using a chat interface. So if you actually use Gemini Pro for coding or for helping you with tasks, it's just incredible. It's very structured and was important. And I don't know, maybe that's the new area. The writing is better. So you know how people say that, oh, AI is really bad at writing. You cannot really have it write a script because it sounds like AI. It seems like the 3 Pro has solved it. But also, that's just not only the text. Now everything is unified, so you can generate images. And whoa, have you seen Nano Banana Pro?
I've seen, literally the last 3 days, the amount of filmmakers on TikTok stylizing their edits. So you know there's like edits that go, like lots of pictures come up. I've literally seen a guy who's like just shot a tennis video, and he went to hit the ball and then said, cool, I wanted a ultra close-up shot of the fluff of a tennis ball, and he just cropped into it and cropped out, making a new dynamic edit so he doesn't have to get a shot. So it's like this sprinkling now of what we've already been doing in the AI space of filmmaking, but it's got a lot better. And I've seen a lot of weird pictures of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg hanging out at a party. I'm not sure if you've seen those ones, but I very much appreciate those.
That's so funny, because some of them, I actually saw 2 of them and I was like, wait, did that actually happen? Like, it's so crazy. We are, and we mentioned this multiple times on this podcast, we are right now in an era where you see a picture and you're like, wait, is it AI? Like, it's crazy how good it got. And not only that, but the state of AI, Google is releasing at a relentless pace, but there is massive competition. So Google released the model, then Anthropic released another model, and then Google released the image Nano Banana Pro. And today, as we're recording this, Flux 2 released as well. There's literally a new state-of-the-art model being released every week, every other week. And with the big ones, it just keeps going in circles. Like, Grok is the best. Now ChatGPT is the best. Now Gemini.
I
now
feel
Anthropic.
like we have discussion every week when you and I speak during the week when we work. It's like, bro, check this out. Who did it? Oh, I did this through Higgsfield. Yeah, I did it through Flux. I did it through Gemini. I did it through Sora. I did it through... And I feel like you and I are always saying, like, it's changing. And we're seeing the detritus of like it coming, or not already in it actually, a AI war. And with the AI bubble right now as well, you're seeing a lot of that in the news, how NVIDIA is like, it's in that circle where NVIDIA is the big bubble, and then there's like Gemini, OpenAI, all in there. So I think we are seeing that war now, and I'd love to see in maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years time, who are the leaders, who is like, who's left, who's had enough time to keep this momentum up, because it's great releasing it, but how to keep up, and how can you burn cash at that rate to keep up? So it's like Google, they've got cash for days. OpenAI, they've got cash for days. But I wonder now...
No. If you actually look at this, and that is the amazing thing, Google has unlimited money. Like they print tens of billions per quarter in profit. And they own their own chips, so they are not reliant on NVIDIA. They do buy from NVIDIA, but they actually made their own TPUs. And that is why they can serve at a lower cost than everybody else. So they own the data centers, they own YouTube, so they own basically the data to train on. They own everything, and they are profitable in the tens of billions per quarter. OpenAI can barely keep up, and they predict that they will burn through like hundreds of billions in the next couple of years without being profitable. And if they are not the best, who's going to fund this? So I think OpenAI is in big trouble. And not only I think that, they leaked a memo. They leaked a memo from OpenAI from this week where Sam Altman is saying, hey, Google Gemini 3 is actually too good. You know what I mean? Like,
imagine being the guy who like came up with this idea, but you can't keep up with your own idea. You know, it's like that's bad.
Yeah. But that's because Google has been just executing. It's been this sleeping giant that's slowly but surely has been taking over. And the one thing OpenAI has is the brand recognition and the zeitgeist in the mainstream. Like people are just like, oh, I will chat GPT this. It became a verb. Nobody really uses Gemini, but the big spend is in the enterprise and the custom solutions. And that's where Google is going to dominate. I just love it. I honestly just really like the Google models. I built my whole platform on Google, and I think it's just a very good model. It just does what I want it to do. I also paradoxically, I really like Grok. I think I've sent you some examples, like the image generation and video generation, now lip sync from Grok. People are sleeping on Grok Imagine, especially for the price. You get unlimited generations that are really, really good. So, and very fast, very fast. That's one also thing, getting the speed.
I'd be interested now. Did you catch Adobe Max the last few weeks and what's been going on in the Adobe space using AI and like the tools they're bringing in, integrating? Right, so Adobe are pushing their own AI software, their own AI tools. I think if someone can attach themselves with, say, Google, for example, right? They build extensions that through Gemini that work with the Adobe platform. I think that's what will affect us the most. Because right now you've got smaller creators building their own little tools where, you know, oh, I've got this artifacts function that helps you do graphics. I've got this AI-powered audio cleanup. Right now, the tools are coming from everywhere. It's like being an arms dealer and you've got your guns coming from left, right, and center. I would wonder now, with Google's momentum, with their ability to have so much data coming in through YouTube and seeing edits, who will be the first person to be like, hey, Adobe, let's just crack this out. Let's like really make your platform the most intuitive AI tool possible. And that's what I keep, when you're thinking about all this, I'm really excited about it, but I'm thinking about how does it affect you and me on the ground? The day that you and I have to edit videos, like this video, for example, do you think Google eventually step into that space, or they go, actually, we can do it by ourselves. Let's just bang out our own editing software. But that's why I always come down to think about is how does it affect people like you and I?
It's interesting because, like you said, there are so many tools hitting the market from every corner of the earth, and because the earth is flat. And you can see that most of these tools are subsidized by venture capital money. So Higgsfield, they keep mentioning. I think it's a garbage service, but they keep offering you like, oh, if you get on a pro plan, you get unlimited generations and everything.
I'm using Higgsfield right now, and because there's little TikToks I'm seeing, like people are like, how do this cool transition from this one, right? And last night it really pissed me off. I watched one of these videos, and I was like, cool. I then, at the film festival I went to and I won, there was an image of me and it was really bad. I thought, oh, let me whack it into Higgsfield Upscaler. Bro, the result was shocking. It was like AI 2 years ago. It took my face and like just morphed me into like John Hurt from The Elephant Man. I'm like, how the fuck can you charge me 5 credits for this and be like, you're right. That is like the bizarre market of AI. If that means like it's got so many tools integrated, so many offerings that it's super low quality.
It's because of the marketing. Exactly, but they spend so much money on marketing and they just want to create themselves as a brand. You know, like people now recognize Higgsfield as a brand, but they just pay a lot to influencers and they subsidize the creations, expecting the cost to actually go down to keep up. If you took away their funding money, they wouldn't be as popular. And again, the outcome, the output that you get from Higgs field is just mostly sometimes not good. Sometimes it just doesn't generate anything. It charges you credits. But again, we will be left in 2 years with the companies that actually build something unique, and they are not just aggregators of tools, because Higgs field is just a layer that connects to file AI. There are hundreds of these tools, and everybody just connects to this one service that provides you with the models. It's just 5 lines of code to include a new image model in your tool, right? But if one image model like Nano Banana Pro is just so good at this point, like you don't need access to 17 of them. And all of these effects, people are actually calling these AI effects pretty cringe. You know, if you use AI effects in your video, people are like, it's a bit cringe. Like, it's fun, but it's a trend.
Yeah, I am not using any AI effects in my latest short film.
No. That's not what I mean. I don't mean like you are trying to use VFX or storytelling. I mean, there are those things where people are like, oh, suddenly my camera transforms into an orange.
Oh, it's that whole,
and that's funny.
The bullet time in my hand, you see everywhere. Everyone doing it. Yeah.
So it's not worth much, really. Again, it's all about the storytelling, right? And everybody is just promising you the world right now, but ultimately Google has got the best infrastructure, and these video models are getting to a point where there's going to be like 4 or 5 of them. Like Kling, insanely good. VO 3.1, amazing. Grok, Imagine right now, again, really good. And the smaller ones keep just falling off. It's then the question of costs.
Well, speaking about all these models, though, they have to be trained. And you mentioned that stabilization or stable AI was trained on supposedly some Getty images in the week, and there was a massive court case, right?
Yeah, so James Cameron backed Stability AI. Stability AI is responsible for stable diffusion, so it's one of the first big players in the market.
I'd say legacy for sure, right? How many Corridor Digital videos do we watch about them, like when they made their first animation video?
Yeah, exactly. So it's the thing that kind of kicked off this craze, because it was open source and you could run this on your laptop, you could run this on your NVIDIA GPU, and it was just amazing, the flexibility and the first taste of AI images and AI videos, and that kind of sparked the whole industry right now. But they kind of have fallen off because of the competition and because of how they were run. However, James Cameron has a stake in it, and there was a big issue, which is, wait, what was this trained on? And it turns out it has been trained on everything, which means that there is potential cases for copyright infringement. And this seen in this situation, Getty Images, so one of the largest, if not the largest provider of images in the world, sued Stability AI because they said, hey, you trained on these images, and not only did you train on them, but there's a way to generate an image with Getty watermark in it, which is kind of like a smoking gun. However, the first lawsuit was about the training itself, and it failed because they sued in the UK, and there was no actual evidence that the training took place in the UK. So that kind of fell off. So they sued again for actual outputs and, like providing people with images that are owned by Getty Images. But, and this is something that that was my feeling all the time, and I feel like now people are realizing this more and more. The judge said that the stable diffusion, the Stability AI, or whatever tool you want to call it, the model itself, is not storing any of the Getty images. You gave this amazing analogy.
Oh yeah, it's literally like, it's inspiration. It's the definition of what is inspiration. It's like me going to the Tate or going to the Portrait Gallery and looking at Picasso and thinking, that's really cool, I love that, let me just keep that inspiration for an idea of my own, and I'm going to leave this building now and go home and create something. It is what literally we've been doing for generations, what filmmakers do, it's what artists do. Anyone who creates in this space, you see something that really speaks to you and you're like, cool, I love that, I'm going to take that and morph it into my own. That's essentially what it is. Inspiration.
Exactly. It's inspiration. So the models themselves, the weights themselves don't store somebody else's images. They are not recreating something pixel for pixel. They are, and this is something you will see in the Reddit, the filmmakers subreddit. The filmmakers subreddit is one of the most uninformed places when it comes to AI. They are so against AI. They don't understand how to use it. They don't understand how it works. So people go like, oh, this AI thing is just stealing somebody else's work. AI cannot be creative. It's just taking one image and then outputting another.
It's victim mentality. People like to go into that victim defensive pose straight away when they feel threatened. And that's we've talked about it before. That will be the downfall. This is like a lot of people I talk about. I went to that film festival, right? And did I make some enemies there when we're talking about AI? Some of the more older filmmakers, someone I was speaking to, a guy who's been in the industry, he's 45. He was a producer / assistant director, and I heard a conversation of him banging AI. It's awful, it's unethical, it's this, it's that. And that was me, 2-3 years ago maybe? Right, now I'm informed, now I'm using these tools. I'm like, actually bro, you're shooting yourself in your foot here. All right, this is a tool that's going to 10x your production quality or 10x your process. And I had to really sit down and explain that to him. And only after an hour did he think, oh no, it could be, but it wasn't just him, it was everyone else in the room. I was circulating the room. I felt like Jesus spreading the word. I was going through and people were just like, they're coming around to it, but it all became because they were uninformed, right? And once you give them information, they can start to turn. But if you don't have information and you preach back straight on your victim mentality and defense, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And that kind of makes me sad.
And it's so obvious because these people don't know what they're talking about. And there was a thread on Reddit, again, the filmmaker subreddit, where people were asking, hey, is anybody actually using AI in their editing, in their production? And most of these people are so clueless. They're like, no, I tried to use the chat interface on ChatGPT to help me with some transcripts and it was okay, but not really that helpful. And I'm like, bro, I've built at least 15 tools myself using AI. It's just, most of the filmmakers are just really bad with technology. They do not want to embrace technology. They say oh, I shoot on this new camera, so I know tech. I'm like, no, bro, you know how to turn on the camera and how to expose an image. If you actually realized that you can put in transcripts from 20 interviews and ask the AI about anything in them, try to construct narratives, critically evaluate your storytelling, your shot choices, and then fill in the gaps, get the connecting tissue working. There's just so much potential for the new creative.
Bro, it works. I had the other day, I had an issue where I wanted to do a Apple type speak and spell animation. My animation skills are subpar, right? I can do the basics, but I didn't want to spend hours animating word by word of this script. So I gave it to Gemini and ChatGPT. I was like, hey, here's a transcript. Or here's what they exactly said, right? Here's the AI voiceover. How can I sync it to this? It literally broke down a module. I was saying, cool, here's an expression I've written for After Effects to link on, right? Here is another expression to find the waveform and make the markers on your timeline. And it did it. I was like, this would have taken me a day of just going keyframe, 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 and it whacked it out. So not even from a story building exercise, but more the stuff you don't want to spend doing, right? The stuff that really grinds us down in the edit. I think that's where it's so dumb. It's like me can't walk to your house knowing that I've got the tube on my doorstep. Just make the smart decision,
Exactly. And it's not removing the soul of it. No, it's it enables you to iterate many more times, to do something, to spend time instead of pouring through the transcript, finding the amazing moments and then instead of spending 4 hours going through the transcripts and then 4 hours on the edit, you can spend 20 minutes on the transcripts and then spend 7 hours on the edit, which is what matters in the end. At the end of the day, people care about you putting the finishing touches on the edit, on the storytelling, seeing what works, rearranging pieces, right? Finding the rhythm.
And what gives that rhythm in the edit?
What a smooth transition. It should be a moderator. Amazing. So Suno, the music generation service, signed the deal with Warner Music. And what that means is that now the users of Suno will be able to use some of the signed artists' work. So artists can volunteer and, obviously they'll be compensated for it. It's very reminiscent of our conversation last week when we spoke about Matthew McConaughey and Michael Caine giving their voices to be used at 11 Labs. More and more artists are realizing, wait, it's actually really cool if people remix my music. I shouldn't be opposing that because I will just lose out, right? Like somebody is going to do this.
That's reality. That's literally how the internet goes. I mean, come on, how many times do you see a video? So dumb. He's going in your window. He's snatching your people up. How'd your kids? That news interview, do you remember that was really famous? Someone made it into a track. And then that made that into a track. You get the virality of the internet, which just iterates. And you're like, oh my God, I've got this, like, this one meme has become an litany of viral videos. And that's what it is. It allows people to get access to make what they want from something they love. And I think that's the powerful thing. But with Suno, I remember it started as that fad where, hey, write me a funny song about Mik and blah, 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 blah. But now it's like, whoa, hold on. So this fun little tool that we laughed about 2 years ago is now done a deal with Warner Music, which is like, oh shit, you got to take this really seriously now.
Yeah, especially if you look at the charts, like there are legitimate playlists based on AI music and it's bangers. You know what I mean? Like people say like, oh no, it's not, because they know it's AI. And we spoke about this again ad nauseum, where if you don't know it's AI and you like it, then just like it. Just enjoy stuff. Just let yourself enjoy the creations. However, the big thing, again, bringing it back to copyright, is that all of the music that's going to be generated using and recognizable artists obviously is going to come with stipulations. So I don't think you'll be able to take, Travis Scott and then remix his music and then put it on your own Spotify and monetize it. I think that's not going to be allowed. But what is going to be allowed is you still create something original with AI and then have some path to make it into a viable career.
This reminds me of the lawsuit that Ed Sheeran recently won about some of his music, and someone sued him for copyright. And he was like, bro, every song uses 3 or 4 chords. That's how it's done, right? Yeah. So now I'm wondering, are we stepping into a world where I make a great Spotify song and then I sue you, Mik, because I'm like, that sounds very similar to mine. But then you've got the data saying, actually, here's the AI transcript. At no point was these 3 notes used in conjunction this time. So no, you can't. So now are we going into this world where people can start shitting themselves a little bit because, shit, you've made a copy of my track that will pass clearance, people are liking, and I can't do anything about it.
And that is a big thing that in the music industry, there's an amazing YouTube video, I forgot what it was called, but it was about how just one note difference can make a song not be a copy, not be a replica of somebody else's song, and suddenly you can avoid the copyright. And yes, many songs sound very similar to each other over the decades, and you have those trends resurfacing. And it's not only just trends, but a lot of songs sound eerily identical to each other, right? And people are like, oh, that's still like artistry, but when AI does it, I don't know, because AI doesn't really do that, because AI actually creates something completely original and people still call it plagiarism. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so counterintuitive that you have 2 artists create a song that has very similar vocals, the same chords, and people are like, oh, but it's different artists. But AI is going to create something that sounds like nothing before. And people are like, oh, it's AI, so it's obviously a copy. You know what I mean? It's like this double standard. As long as it's human, then it's original.
But if it's human, or AI, do you value it more? And the reason I'm bringing this up is a conversation I've been hearing a lot about is critics, film critics. Okay, so when a film comes out, I try not to sometimes, so I don't get an internal bias prior to seeing the film. But there are talks now of, would you value, Mik, a AI critic to give you an idea whether the film is good or not before a screening? You're about to go in the cinema, you're on Rotten Tomatoes, you've got the human critic who is giving you a slightly entertaining or maybe a poignant review of the film. Then you've got AI giving you a really deep analytical reason to why the film's going good. And it's going off that because it's been trained off hundreds of years of storytelling, and it's going to tell you categorically why it's good or why it's bad. Or you've got the human saying, yeah, it's okay, but this bit really spoke to me. What are you going to value now? The human connection or the indisputable data?
The AI review can be calibrated, so it can be calibrated to my taste, and it can predict a little bit better based on my previous likes and whatever I enjoyed. It can give me a little bit more of a personalized review. If I like a specific reviewer and I align with their tastes, then that's also very valuable. But reviewers are also prone to the bias, to having a bad day, to not being in the season for specific films, to money. And as you were speaking, I was imagining this being deployed before the movie is made, right? So deploying AI for script analysis, for story analysis, to make sure that this is the best movie possible. In the recent Ask Me Anything on Reddit, we had Benedict Cumberbatch, and he was asked about AI, and his response got me thinking, because what he said was, while AI can be helpful, what it might do is it might make everything a little bit more vanilla, because it's going to kind of evaluate the new ideas as like too risky or not falling into the previous patterns, right? So we might see everything be a little bit too by the numbers. However, there is already an example of this, which is Netflix. Netflix has been making shows by the numbers based on, people like Kevin Spacey, people like House of Cards, let's marry the two, boom, we have a hit. However, this approach, I don't know how it allowed for something like Stranger Things to be created, right? So again, there is a little bit of artistry that needs to be kept in the filmmaking process and green lighting of the films.
Something you said prior actually really interested me. Imagine a AI platform, say Letterboxd took this, right, and really ran with it. And you got a chat function where it said, hey, I want to watch a film this weekend with my wife. Ideally, I want to watch this type of genre. And it gave you a quick review, gave you a personalized recommendation. Mik, since you are a father and a married man, I think that these elements of the film will really speak to you. Like actually going one step further, knowing more about you, not just your taste, but your lifestyle, how you live, how you breathe, how you talk, how you do everything else. Imagine to that depth. It's like a friend. It's like a friend saying, I think personally, mate, for you, this would be good. That's what's interesting me.
I think that's a great idea, but it would need some guardrails to actually not spoil the movie for you. Like imagine if it says, you know how you have that person in your life that you really care about. So there's an emotional moment in this movie when the main character's wife dies. So, you know what I mean? Like it would speak to you because in the climax of the movie, they actually find her head in a box.
So that's what was in the box. Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking. Interesting. But all this is doing is, again, this is opening all these tools. All these tools are opening the world up to people, to filmmakers, to audiences, right? Either way, the boundary to information is getting lower, right? To get involved in conversations getting lower, even though some people don't want to. Now, with this in mind, India just finished their largest AI film festival, okay? And a few things have come from this. The main point is a lot of cool works come out, but these people have not been trained filmmakers. They're not been people who spent their lives learning how to nuance story, how to get the best shot, what tells a story. The bar to entry has got so low. And in this, I can't remember who said, but this filmmaker said, this is going to completely topple the hierarchical system of studios. Now, what that means is, okay, cool. Mik, you run the studio, right? And I am one of your directors. Cool, I'm gonna give this to Dimi because I know he's got all the talent, all the tools and the expertise to do this, okay? Now you're giving the tools to people who have zero experience. It's like giving the janitor the opportunity to give you a $10 billion idea. Will he do it? Maybe, but does he have the ability with these tools? Most probably. So that's gonna change the way the system, this pyramid is about to go flat.
But also the value is gonna go flat. I had this realization exactly as you're speaking about this. Our mutual friend sent me a short video he made with VO3, and he was so excited about this. It's like a 1 minute scene and it's incredible. The characters are consistent, the acting is good. And he's like, oh, I made this yesterday in 20 minutes in VO3. And I was like, kind of like cool that you've done this, but I don't care about it because there's no effort required. It's a cool tech demo. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we are into this, it's a cool tech demo, but just because everyone can do it with no restrictions, again, I think it devalues that content. Like, I don't know, just making a video doesn't mean anything anymore. And it's been like that on YouTube, on TikTok. Just because you make a video doesn't mean it's a good video. Just because you've made one doesn't mean you can make more. And again, becoming a creator who can pump out good content that people actually want to watch day in and day out, like Casey Neistat. There's just something about it that somebody can make a video every single day for 800 days straight and people want to watch every single one of them. And that is going to be the top 0.1% of creators still. Can this janitor now do something like this? Yes. However, he's going to be competing with, again, filmmakers who have the taste, who have the storytelling chops, who also have these tools, right? So it's not like this same janitor is now competing with Hollywood not using these tools. No, he's still competing with people with storytelling, education, taste, 15 years of experience who are using the same tools. So ultimately, I don't think that this is going to like flatten the structure of it. I think what's going to happen is the quality of the content is ultimately going to go up. The barrier to entry is going to stay where it is right now. It's just that the quality is going to shift up of what's expected of you to start. It's not going to be enough for this janitor anymore to just pick up a camera and shoot something cool, because honestly, most of the stuff that most people can produce using regular real life tools looks worse than any AI film now.
So let's quick go back to that, because people could think that you and I are saying this from an ego standpoint. No, we're the experts. We make the better stuff, So I just want to put that to bed. But the other thing is, this is just like any new wave. And we spoke about it a few times, that the digital revolution, when cameras went to DSLRs became readily available and people start making their own content, right? And we saw a lot of shit. It's just happening again. It's just happening. This is the new wave in technology. So I agree. We are going to see a lot of slop, a lot of stuff that is just filler, right? And my initial reaction is that's great, because if you open the barriers to this, you might find that tiny 1% that might have gone overlooked. They might have been overlooked, fine. But we're trading 1% for 99% at this rate. And it's going to be a lot to go through. And this is happening everywhere. Just a quick tangent. It's happening in the job market, Job applications are getting 10 times more applicants now, where I know hiring managers have told me, we just can't look through it all, So are we, again, shooting ourselves in the foot with this concept where everyone's making stuff? We've now allowed that tiny 1% who are very good storytellers that we didn't know about to make their work, but will we even find them? Now the haystack's got bigger, the needle's got slightly bigger, but does it mean we're going to find that needle, if you get my expression?
Yes, I think this is a very good, and I think we're aligned on this. This is a good metaphor to say this, because again, just because you have more content doesn't mean you have more good content. You will still have only top small percentage. But again, the kids who would have never gotten a chance to ever work on something like Star Wars can now make Star Wars in their bedroom. And I think that is the most amazing part, which is you can realize your dreams of making a movie, of making a Hollywood blockbuster with very, very low budget, and you can just do it. And the people who have the grit, have the agency to actually do it on their own accord, do it on the weekends, evenings, after school, before school, after work, right? Like, these are the people that are still going to win. And because, again, how many janitors or how many of, people like my parents are going to actually sit down and create their own movie? You know what I mean? Like, making a 10-minute movie even with AI, is a slog. Like, that is a lot of generations. Think about making a 10-minute short movie with AI. Let's assume that you're using the best tools possible, and every 10th generation is a banger, right? So every 10th generation means that for every 6 seconds, you need to produce 1 minute of video. So it's like 10 times. So to make a 10-minute video, you needed to have created 100 minutes of footage.
We're killing the desire, the desire element of this. This is like where you and I, we had the desire, let's go out today with our cameras and just go shoot something silly. And we know, because we want to do that. And we got the tools and the want. But now that's in balance. People have the tools. Do they really want the want, And I think AI tools, as much they're helping, that they're killing the desire. So actually, that's what you've been talking about. But I think the word we need to land on is desire. We don't have the desire to make films. We have the tools and the ability, but people don't have that desire. So actually, what I'm saying is bullshit before. The haystack actually has got bigger, but then it's actually really not. Sorry, the haystack hasn't actually got bigger. It's just. Oh no, I'm trying to. How can I put this? Because it's interesting now. This, on one hand, you can think the haystack's got bigger, but actually, will it get bigger? Because will people follow through? The human element is like, oh, this is too long. I can't be asked. If you don't have that desire already.
You know what? This is what happened, and I know that you experienced that, and I experienced that as well. The deeper you also got into filmmaking, and you've experienced making stuff at higher quality, it's really hard nowadays to just go out and shoot something that's not good. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to walk around London with my Ronin and it's like, oh, cool, I'm just going to get some cool. No. If it's going to be, I'm going to make a banger. I want to make a banger. Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun to shoot this stuff when like the gimbals were just out there, when the DSLRs were just out there, and you shoot like, oh, this is London, this is New York, this is me here, and like, if it's not your personal story, what I mean? Like, nowadays, if I cannot control the lighting and do something properly, it's just not worth my time. And the same, and I think you're very right with desire that if people are going to compare their work now to AI, and this is the sentence that I said, a couple of minutes ago that you kind of cringed at, that if you cannot really bring proper lighting, proper camera somewhere, have a beautiful actor and an actress, then your indie movie is not really going to look much better, and it's probably going to look much worse than something you can prompt with AI very, very well. So for someone now to go out and be like, okay, let's get 2 actors, let's get the cameras, let's get the crew and do the whole thing. Yes, not only does it cost a lot of money, but also it's just very, very disheartening to see that you will spend all that time and energy, whereas you could have just sat down with your laptop and generated a better version of this.
But that's where you and I differ. Yeah, cool. AI is the tool and it's making things easier, but it's gonna make you work harder. All right, it's gonna because it's gonna make you work harder, and it's actually gonna show some parts of yourself that you might not be comfortable with. You thought you were this filmmaker who's gonna go out and make it, and then suddenly you're saying to yourself, I can't be asked. And that's going to, and that element there, that one emotion is going to really weed out the people who want it and who kind of half-ass want it. And that's the interesting part.
Yeah. And I think on that note, we can close that it's all about the desire to actually make stuff. And these are tools, and fuck me, are these tools good nowadays?
Oh, God.
Maybe too good for what we actually want to make.
These tools are coming thick and fast, so we'll find out next week if the world of filmmaking is going to end, because this stuff is happening every week and we're here to talk about it. So I'm leaving as my sign off. See you later.